What's going on YouTube? My name is Ron King back again with one more video. As always, if you enjoy the content, please leave a like on the video, comment on the video with any feedback that you might have, and subscribe to the channel for related business content. Now in today's video, we will be reacting to a video called The Rise and Fall of Blackberry. So I wanted to check this video out, try a new content format for the channel just to see what the reception will be and things like that. So we'll go ahead and check out the video and see if there's anything that we can learn from it. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
BlackBerry once reigned as king of the smartphone, selling more than 50 million units at its peak in 2011. The Canadian telecom company was originally named Research in Motion and had tens of millions of customers. It started out creating pagers and handsets, but the first iteration of the smartphone, complete with iconic keyboard, took shape within its first 15 years. At one time, BlackBerry controlled 50% of the smartphone market in the US and 20% globally. In the mid
Wow, now that is a staggering number. That it said that they controlled 50% of the smartphone market back in the day. Now, while it is a pretty staggering number, it actually does make sense because I remember about 10 years ago, the BlackBerry was everywhere. Everyone had the BlackBerry, everyone loved the product. So when you actually think about that, you can understand why they had a 50% market share.
aughts, BlackBerry phones were everywhere.
Mhm.
But demand rapidly declined, and in 2016, BlackBerry stopped manufacturing its own phones. So, what happened? In 1984, two Canadian engineering students, Mike Lazaridis and Douglas Fragan, formed Research in Motion. At first, the company dabbled mostly in random projects, an LED system for GM, a local network for IBM, and even a film editing system that won an Oscar in 1998. In 1989, the Canadian phone company Rogers contracted RIM to work on its Mobitex network, a system specifically designed for messaging, giving RIM a leg up as an early expert in mobile messaging. Fast forward to 1996, when RIM created its first two-way pager. And for the next few years, the company iterated on that design, gradually adding features like a color display, Wi-Fi, instant messaging, and web browsing.
So as you can see in the beginning, BlackBerry had many different innovations that they were able to use to their advantage so that they could have the best product on the market. And because of that, they had many people flocking towards them and buying from them, rather than going to other companies to get phones, just because at that point they were making the most innovations and they had the best product on the market. Let's move on.
In 2002, the company unveiled its first model that could be called a phone. In 2006, RIM added the trackball so users could scroll around the screen.
BlackBerry figured out a way to make its phone indispensable to the wealthy and powerful. And having it really meant something about who you were as a person. It was a status symbol. And that's where we got that name Crackberry. People were almost addicted to it and addicted to that feeling of always being connected.
Right. And that is very important. The fact that she said, having a BlackBerry said something about who you are as a person. It gives you some status. That was very important in the rise of BlackBerry. And just like it is for Apple, you know, people who get the latest iPhone every single year, they're really doing it. It's a keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. They're doing it so that they can say, okay, I have the latest and greatest from of what Apple has to offer. Therefore, my status is elevated. So probably not the smartest way of spending money, but people do it, to each his own. So we'll go ahead and move on as well.
The BlackBerry had a simple design, an easy learning curve, and was clearly marketed to business professionals. The full keyboard made it possible for them to work outside the office. They could respond to emails, texts, browse the web, basically anything they might need to do at a computer.
Now, this is very important as well. The way that they were able to appeal to business professionals was absolutely amazing, especially in the beginning, because they were able to allow business professionals to be connected at all times, even if they weren't in front of their computer, meaning they would be able to access, read, send emails, and all different types of things that they would usually just do from their desktop computer or laptop. But having the mobile capability really catapulted BlackBerry as well. So let's keep moving as well.
And there was one other beloved feature, BlackBerry Messenger.
The BBM messaging service was a key component of BlackBerry's success as well, because they figured out really early on that people wanted to have an instant connection to people. They wanted to be able to message back and forth without limits. And being able to BBM also added you to that really exclusive club of BlackBerry-only users.
This convenience, paired with inclusivity, paid off. By 2007, the company was pulling in more than $3 billion in revenue, with a net income of $631 million.
At that
All right, now those are some staggering numbers. 3 billion in revenue and 600 million in net income. That's after all the different deductions that they would make. That's incredible. It really shows you how big BlackBerry was before its fall. So and it's also goes to show that just because you're having success at one time doesn't mean you're going to have success in the future. That's why innovation is key. And I think the lack of continued innovation on BlackBerry's part were the reason why it fell. So let's keep moving.
that point in time, BlackBerry had all these government contracts and big business deals, and those deals in turn spurred more consumer adoption. So at that point, BlackBerry was just dominating the US market.
So, with all those contracts and dollar signs, the company had nothing to worry about, right?
The problem with them is really sort of in the bottom 40 there. It's this stuff right here. They all have these keyboards that are there whether you need them or not to be there. But what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen.
And it's gone. This is the fall of BlackBerry. This man Steve Jobs is responsible for the fall of BlackBerry, okay? He created something unequivocally superior to the BlackBerry. And because of BlackBerry's also their inability to adapt things such as a touchscreen, getting rid of the keypad as well, because they didn't adopt these features, they were left behind in the dust, and soon they became nothing. So let's keep going.
A giant screen.
The iPhone was something consumers had never seen before. The iPhone was a full touchscreen device, and that was a huge leap in innovation at that point for the mobile industry. BlackBerry was still using physical keyboards at that point.
But the iPhone didn't kill RIM immediately, it just signed its death warrant. BlackBerry didn't view the iPhone as competition since it didn't cater to the business market. So
let me stop it right there. That's another mistake they made. They didn't see the iPhone as competition. In business, you have to see and be aware of who your competition is, especially if you're in the smartphone market and you see another company coming out with these smartphones. Yeah, hell yeah, they're your competition. Yes, they are your competition. And if you don't adjust to what they're doing, if you don't make improvements and innovations, then they will beat you. So simple as that. Let's keep moving.
it carried on, business as usual. RIM released the BlackBerry flip phone in 2008, quickly followed by the BlackBerry Storm, its first touchscreen device. The Storm was reviewed and trashed by critics, who said it was a definite letdown because of the phone's sluggish performance and bugginess. But BlackBerry phones still continued to sell for a few reasons. The iPhone was more expensive than the BlackBerry and exclusive to AT&T until 2011, forcing customers in the US to either switch providers or pick a new phone.
So one thing I wanted to point out, I think that if BlackBerry would have made a pivot, right? If they would have created a phone that was full touchscreen, if they would have made it cheaper than the iPhone, then they wouldn't have been gobbled up as quickly. Who knows? Maybe iPhone would have still, just completely dominated. But they would have been able to gain a little bit of that market share back if they were able to adjust and create products similar to the iPhone but just cheaper. If they would have been able to do that, they wouldn't have collapsed this fast. So let's keep going.
And very simply, people just didn't want to give up their keyboards. So for a while, BlackBerry was fine. But RIM underestimated how quickly the smartphone market was changing. There was a new, updated iPhone every year, and other smartphones, like the Motorola Droid, began to hit shelves. RIM tried to keep up. It rolled out innovative new devices like the Playbook tablet and Torch. But the devices were not well received. The Playbook even shipped without an email app, which made it useless to BlackBerry's business-minded customer base.
That is another huge mistake that they made. If your base is business-minded professionals, and then you put out a product without the email capability, then you're really messing up. If business professionals can't access their email, then why, on your platform, then why would they use your platform? So this is another thing that they should have done in order to keep their base happy. That's very important, keeping your base happy and just understanding what their needs are and what they're coming to you for, and just continuing to deliver on that so you have consistent customers. So we'll move on.
In June 2010 came BlackBerry's death rattle with the release of the iPhone 4. Soon after its release, Apple's phone sales surpassed BlackBerry for the second time, but this time they stayed there.
BlackBerry was slow to change. Its company ethos was built around designing a great product that just worked and iterating on it very slowly. To that end, they would add small features over time, but they weren't shooting for big, sweeping changes that would shock and delight consumers.
And this is another mistake, yet another mistake. Not reaching for the stars, not striving to make the next product way better than the last is a huge mistake. Apple, in the very beginning, did a great job of doing this. First they had the iPod, then the iPhone, and then, the iPhone was improved and improved and improved. Everything was better. When we got to the iPhone 4S, that was the first iteration of Siri. And then, after that, there was more and more additions made to it. The screen got bigger and all these different things. But now you're seeing Apple kind of stagnating a little bit. But this is really just because they can. They know that people are going to buy their phone every single year. So they're like, okay, we're just going to slap a new camera on it, and we're just going to sell it to you guys. So, I mean, if it works for them, it works for them. But what it would be interesting to see if that catches up with Apple soon in the future. But at this point, it's not looking like it. But we'll go on and move on as well.
It wasn't the fact that there was no well-established BlackBerry App Store, although that was big. Comparatively, Android and Apple were more top of mind for app developers. BlackBerry wasn't. The phones missed out on a bunch of features that appealed to consumers, like front and back cameras. These shortcomings ultimately led to RIM's downfall. RIM's global market share began a downward spiral, going from 20% in 2009 to less than 5% in 2012. By the time RIM finally released its spec-competitive touchscreen phone in 2013, it was just too late.
Okay, so waiting until 2013 to release your first full touchscreen phone, that's a huge mistake, man. iPhone came out in 2009. You had 4 years. Why did it take 4 years for you to develop that? You should have been coming out with that 2010 right off the bat, just to stop the bleeding. You know, so it's pretty evident why this company collapsed. So let's move on and finish the video.
That same year, RIM officially changed its name to BlackBerry. BlackBerry thought its loyal customers would wait around for it. Spoiler, they didn't. At this point, people were locked into either iPhone or Android. And in the last quarter of 2016, out of 432 million smartphones sold worldwide, only 207,900 were Blackberry devices, which officially made RIM's smartphone market share 0%. And in
0%. And that's about all I'll play for this video. So as you can see, the rise was meteoric for BlackBerry, but after 2009, after that iPhone, into the garbage. So it just shows how if you don't evolve with the competition, you will be left behind and your company will die if you do not invest in innovation. And if you're too late to innovate, you're also going to die. Okay. By the time they came out with that touchscreen phone, the brand loyalty of Android and Apple was just so high that they couldn't keep up, and that's why they collapsed. So that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like on the video, comment on the video with any feedback you might have. Let me know if you enjoyed this content format. Trying some new on the channel. I'm thinking that this will become a staple in the channel. So we'll see how it goes, but I'd like to see what your thoughts are on the video. And as always, subscribe to the channel for more business related content. As always, my name is Ron King. Have a great day. Peace.